Hi, Sal.
We always love to go to Mexico. We spent the bulk of our time there in Yucatan because Yucatan has a lot to offer if you're interested in historic sites.
Yes, the Mayan ruins all over Yucatan. There's hundreds of them,
Yeah.
and I love seeing it. We spent 2 weeks. Yeah, it was 2 weeks because we spent a week in Cozumel, 2 weeks driving, and then a week in Cancun. So we're going to talk about one site we saw in our 2 weeks driving around Yucatan, and that is Mayapan.
Yeah.
We stayed in Santa Helena, which is a small town, at the Flycatcher Inn.
That was really nice.
Yes.
We were really lucked out because it's not that the hotels aren't nice on the Yucatan Peninsula. They're just it's a big area that's not very densely populated. So the hotel accommodations are few and far between.
Not just that, the Mexican hotels, their beds are like sleeping on cement.
They like the firm bed.
It's a very firm bed, and I think that's just a cultural thing in Mexico. They like a firm bed. So when you get into someone who is catering towards tourism, the beds here, and the Pickled Onion was another place in town.
They were European or Western.
Yeah, so
American.
Yeah.
United States of American.
Yeah, I think one lady was from the UK, and so the beds were very comfortable. Great breakfast.
Yeah.
Not that the breakfasts weren't great at the other places, but the beds were more comfortable. So.
Well, and we've roughed it. We've camped a lot, so it's not like we are always looking for luxury, but
Right.
if you can get a nice place every few days, and when you're traveling, and then you have rough sleeping for a week or so, it makes it a little more manageable.
Yeah.
But
we took a day and went to Mayapan.
not the town.
We Google mapped Mayapan, and it took us to the town of Mayapan, which is not the archaeological site of Mayapan. So we're kind of, we're driving through town. I actually stopped. I went into the police station. Noasaki. He was on the phone talking to someone, and I asked him, ruins? Noasaki, not here. And that was all I got out of him. But so we're driving up the street. We needed water and snacks, so we stopped at a little market, and the woman there was more than happy to help us.
In Spanish.
Yes, but it was enough information. I understand a little, and particularly Spanish in Mexico, which is it's a lot different in South America. Spanish is not Spanish everywhere. Sorry.
Right.
So I was able to understand enough of it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and it took us probably 40 minutes to actually get to the archaeological site.
It's interesting. It's like almost everywhere. I'm sure that along the border of the United States of America and Mexico, people probably speak English more readily.
Oh,
The
yeah.
further in you go, the less likely are you going to run into people who have a smattering of English, or their Spanish might be different than what you're used to hearing if you're dealing with people who are in resort areas or on the border. So be aware that, in Yucatan, in some areas, English won't be widely spoken, and the Spanish they speak might be different than what you're used to.
Yeah.
That's all.
So let's go to Mayapan.
Mayapan.
So it was a really good site. I'm really glad we went there. They had originally they had 4,000 buildings, and it was a huge site, like the center of the Mayan culture in that area in Yucatan. But there was only probably 20 buildings uncovered at this point. One of them being the pyramid. It's 49 feet tall, very steep. You can climb it, but you'll see a picture. It is steep.
Yeah. The site was home to, they said something like 12,000 to 17,000 people at one point, but the site that we saw was nowhere near large enough to accommodate.
No. You saw where there were some either stores or homes. I don't think anyone knows for sure, but they have a good guess. And then there was several temples on the site, and there was columns that were like 4 feet tall. So it's kind of weird. You can't put a roof on that. But there was something. The rest of the building was made out of wood or other stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then there's that other. It must have been some sort of a temple because it was layered like a pyramid, but not as steep. It was a nice easy climb up the stairs on that one.
It's so fun to see the different sites in Yucatan because they're very unique. They have similarities, but there's also some uniqueness to them. This site had really, really distinct, beautiful carvings. And you don't always get that because a lot of the time they're quite weathered. And this site had the really beautiful carvings.
One in particular, it's like, it's almost like a monster. You see the eyes and you see the big mouth. Another one had kind of I've heard it called a trunk, but don't believe there are elephants here, but and then there's birds carved, because some of the plazas were elevated, and around the side they had carvings of birds. So I think birds were very important here.
There's an observatory.
Yeah, that's very unique. Not many places have, Chichen Itza has an observatory, and here had an observatory, but we haven't seen that in most other places.
It didn't have a ball court, which was interesting.
Right, yeah.
So they must have had something else going on there that was a primary social interest.
Yeah, or it just hasn't been uncovered.
Right.
So, yeah, keep in mind, if you're on Yucatan and you look out, there are no hills, there are no mountains on Yucatan. Nothing. So you're looking out, oh, there's a hill right there. That's not a hill. That is a ruin that has not been uncovered. I don't care if it's 6 feet tall or 60 feet tall. It is a ruin. There's something underneath there, but it's very expensive to uncover it and keep it in good condition. It's you're in kind of a jungle.
Yes, a jungle.
Yeah, so you got to keep the jungle back from encroaching again, and you have to keep the site clean. So it's expensive. So they just, even when we were in Calakmul, I mean, beautiful site, huge site. There were pyramids they just didn't uncover. You see some steps kind of going up, but that's all they're going to do. It's just too much.
If the Mexican government decided that they wanted to charge people flying into Cancun or into Merida, archaeological site fee just because you're a tourist and you're coming in, obviously locals would be exempt. I think that would be a good way to raise funds to help preserve the existing sites and to improve the infrastructure or to have an opportunity to explore more sites.
Right. So
I'm happy to pay that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had that in other places. So although the roads in Mexico I found were fantastic.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about driving then, since we're on that topic.
Oh yeah. Everyone's worried, what's it like, and we had 2 police interactions. One, I had to pee and I wasn't waiting for the next town. I pulled over a little out, and I walked off. There was just a kind of a little dirt road, about 10 feet down, so it wasn't in view. And the police drove by, and they saw that we were stopped, and then they turned around and came back, and I kind of looked back over my shoulder, and they saw me, and they saw I was peeing, so they laughed and they drove away. So I think they were just checking to make sure we were okay.
Yeah.
So, and then the next guy was at some kind of a checkpoint, yeah. And so, hey, are you enjoying your time in Mexico? Yeah, we're having a great time. Where are you headed? Where'd you come from? And, he kind of looks in the back seat. There's nothing in the back seat. And he said, okay, glad you're enjoying Mexico. And we're on our way. So
there are a lot of roadside checkpoints by local police or the state police. And in almost every circumstance, we were waved through.
Right, yeah. They didn't even care to look in the car or anything else. So.
Yeah.
But that being said, don't go to Mexico and start picking up drugs. You never know.
Yeah, don't drink and drive.
Yeah, just be smart, like you would anywhere. So.
The roads can be narrow, and because they're carved into the jungle, there's often no shoulders. So just and sometimes they have like a post at regular basis, regular intervals on the side of the road. So if you do run off the road, you might run into a post.
Right, I forgot
stay
about
on
that.
the road.
Yeah, stay on the road.
You don't want to drive into the jungle or think you'll be okay because you're just running into the jungle because you might hit one of those.
Yeah.
But Mayapan, getting back to Mayapan, we climbed the tall pyramid there, and it was an outstanding view of the surrounding scenery plus the entire site. And it was super steep.
I love seeing the green of the jungle and then the blue of the sky with the clouds. The horizon is just flat. It's really great. You'll see some pictures here. So when you're getting up on top of the pyramids, not just here, in other places as well, you kind of come above the jungle, and it's really neat to see the top of it. And then you'll see, there's a hill, and it's not a hill. We were looking at the back of one of the pyramids that they had done one side, and the other side they had not cut the jungle away. So it's beautiful.
Sometimes if you're in a very large historic site, you can climb up and see other pyramids poking out of the jungle, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really neat, there was a small area that was covered that had some unique painted carvings, or was it a scroll?
Some were carved, and then there was some paint from the old Mayan times, and they're keeping it, safe, out of the sun, out of the rain, not being weathered, so people in the future can see it.
So here's what happened. We decided that we were going to go visit Mayapan, and I'm normally the navigator, and I will admit that I didn't realize I was looking for Mayapan, the archaeological site, versus Mayapan, the actual town. So be aware when you're Googling that if you're driving. I don't know that there's a lot of tour groups that would go out that direction. It didn't seem very crowded when we were there, and it is quite a way off the beaten path. It's unique and small.
6 people there, I think, when we were there. Initially, no, I think they were there. We got there, because we got there a little later than we normally do.
Okay, because we got lost in Mayapan. Thank you, Sally. What else?
I think that's it. It's a great site. I like the observatory. I like the pyramid, and just a couple hours walking around, seeing the different parts. They had kind of a cenote there. I don't know.
You couldn't go in it, I don't think.
No.
And I think it was right in the middle of it was between the big pyramid and maybe the lower level of the observatory.
Yeah.
Right in that area. There was a big...
Yeah, there was water in there, but it wasn't something... I think the sides were eroding, so they kind of had it fenced off so you wouldn't get too close to it.
A cenote is like an underground well, a natural well.
Yeah.
Like an underground cave that gets formed.
Yeah.
And the water collects in there. And often you can swim in them.
Yes, they'll have either ladders down or trails down where you can jump in and swim. The water is refreshing. It's not cold, but because Mexico's warm, and when you jump in, it is refreshing. So.
I like that. I didn't swim during the opportunities because I was already super sweaty because it is quite warm, and I couldn't imagine putting on wet panties. Yeah. Honestly, that's how I felt. I was like, I didn't want to have to take wet panties off and then put them back on after I went swimming. It just didn't sound very
I enjoyed it. Anyway, we enjoyed Mayapan.
Yeah.
We would recommend it. It's probably an hour out of Merida. So if you're out on the western side of Yucatan near Merida, it's definitely worth a jaunt down to Mayapan.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Sam.